choosing yourself will always be the highest option. Trust me. Even if you don't know what or how, the universe will make sure to guide you there.
Yes, and you are saying this, like, this is the reason why I've invited you to the podcast, because
Thank you so much.
you have embodied this, you know, this sense of like trust in life. But this also comes with, again, like daring to jump.
What triggers the fear in you is for you the sign that something needs to be worked on. And for me, I'm grateful when I feel fear. Alchemy is a way of living. Alchemy is art. Alchemy is transforming, whether it's gold, crystal, or life experience, into something of your own, adding your unique stamp to it, adding life to it.
Hi guys, this is Annie. Welcome to Annie's Alchemia, the podcast. We are here in this soft learning space together to explore the importance of feeling. In each episode, I sit down with an inspiring guest to talk about alchemy. I started to feel so much better when I started to feel more. My wish is that you as a listener will feel inspired to feel more deeply, because that, to me, is alchemy. Let's dive in. Dearest Carlo, welcome. Welcome to my living room. Welcome to Amsterdam. Welcome to Annie's Alchemia, the podcast. You came all the way from Berlin to be here with us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my honest pleasure to be here in your home, your beautiful home, and to share this experience with you.
I cannot wait to dive in. But I've learned that this brief moment of check-in together prior to us diving in actually helps me a lot, at least. And I'm also hoping for the listener to take this brief moment of reflection and to turn inwards, and for them to be feeling even more open to receive whatever it is that they are supposed to receive from this episode. So if you're okay with it, I would love to guide you through a very brief meditation before.
I would love to.
Okay, so I want to invite you to close your eyes. And in case the listener is not able to right now close his or her eyes, then that's okay. I just want to invite everyone listening to start focusing on their physical bodies, on their feet touching the ground. Maybe they can observe what their shoes feel like touching their feet. Maybe their socks, pants touching their legs. Maybe you're walking, maybe you're sitting, but I want you to become aware of your bum, the muscles and those big muscles inside your bum. Maybe you're touching the sofa or a chair. Maybe you're walking, so you're moving your muscles, you're using your muscles. And now I would want to invite you to become aware of both of your legs. This lower part of your body that is carrying your body around. And then I want to invite you to focus on your heart space. Your beautiful heart space that is pumping the blood around your body and carrying so much energy and wisdom. And I want to invite you to set the intention to open your heart, for it to be able to receive, feel, allowed to move through whatever is supposed to move through that space. So let's take a deep breath in through that heart space together. In through the nose, through the heart, all the way to the lower belly. And hold it there for a bit. And then breathe out through the mouth that we visualize that that air is moving from the lower part of the belly through the heart, out of the body again. And then we repeat that in through the nose, through the heart, all the way towards our lower belly, our lower back. We hold it there for a bit. And then out through the heart, through the mouth. And we are going to do that 3 more times. In through the nose, through the heart, lower belly, and back upwards through the heart and out of the mouth again. And you can repeat it 2 more times in your own timing in order to land even more in the place where it is that you are right now. To land even more inside your physical body. So we use our breath as this anchor to become even more present of what is. And whenever you're ready, I want to invite you to open up your eyes again. Again, welcome.
Hello. Nice to see you again.
Yeah. I'm really excited to dive in. Last time that we saw each other, it was a couple of weeks ago in Ibiza. And that was actually the second time that we met. I would love to go back to like a year ago that we first saw each other.
Mm-hmm. Last year in July.
Yeah. Yeah. You were on the beach. And I found myself inside this store. And a mutual friend of ours introduced us to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And you are selling beautiful pieces of crystals. You create jewelry with crystals. And I fell in love with your pieces and with your story. So I actually would want to ask you would you please introduce yourself?
Of course, would be my pleasure. My name is Karlo Hecimovic, and at the moment, I am the owner and the creator of a jewelry brand, Khalis. It's an interesting story how Khalis came to existence, but should we keep that for the next question?
Yeah,
Or
well, I that's for me the reason to have invited you here today, because your story is so inspirational. And yeah, I would love for you to share your whole journey, because right now asking you the question, like to introduce yourself,
yeah, it would
you
take
are
the
not
whole
your brand.
episode.
Yeah. It's also, I find it like somewhat of a flat question to introduce yourself, because
Yeah, I
I
could say,
observe that.
hello, I am me.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I recall from previous episodes that I've recorded, when I introduce a guest, I feel like I do them short by telling their name, whatever it is that they do for a living,
Yeah. Exactly.
But maybe we just start off with Carlo right now. He's the owner of the brand Kalyss.
Correct.
And that is the brand that I was just talking about, that I stumbled upon in Ibiza, you on the beach, and you started explaining to me how you came up to the point of creating jewelry pieces made from crystals.
Yes.
But I would love for you to share this whole process of transformation, this beautiful story. Because when I was chatting to you on the beach, I was just like, oh, I should have recorded this conversation.
Oh.
I want everyone to hear this story.
Thank you so much.
So please share whatever it is that you want to share about it.
Well, first of all, the first time we met, it was very refreshing to meet someone like you who actually understood what I was talking about. So it was a beautiful dynamic and exchange of energy rather than just giving. So the story about Khalis and the story about me, the story about Khalis is the reflection of the story of me, which started, the story of me started as a little boy born in Croatia, in the capital of Croatia, Zagreb, who always knew that there is something more to life, that the life can be this big, beautiful thing. I always saw the life as a movie. So growing up in Croatia was slightly challenging because I always felt restricted in my being, but I always knew that it was just for that period of time. So
How do you mean?
I always knew that I would have to leave the country in order to grow and experience.
Did you travel as a kid?
Not that much. I only started traveling when I was able to do it myself. But it was also beautiful growing up in Croatia because it's a really small country. So I feel like at that time on planet Earth, we were kind of left alone to develop on our own. And Croatia just got formed after I was born because we were part of Yugoslavia, which just the war just ended when I was born. So we had a fresh start, let's say. So I grew up and already in my primary school, I became very interested about photography. So I got my first camera and I just started working already. I mean, playing, I would say. So I started taking pictures of my girlfriends in school, which then developed in taking pictures of my friends in high school. And then this hobby took a turn and I met a friend who I shot my first editorial with. And with that editorial, we applied for a photo contest from Elle magazine, which I surprisingly won. And that opened up a lot of new doors for my career to expand. And have in mind, I was just 18 years old. So
You won the contest when you were 18.
well, I was still 17.
Okay. You
But
cheated.
don't tell anybody.
You cheated. Okay.
No, I didn't cheat, but yeah. I won. When I won, I was already 18. So it was in summer. So that opened up a space, a path for me to grow. And it showed me that my passion can be my life. That maybe I don't need all these schools to allow me to move around through life. But my parents, unfortunately, didn't see it like that, at least in the beginning. So after finishing high school, I did enroll a college, which I saw was nothing for me. It was still too restricting.
What did you start studying?
Well, I wanted to study architecture, but somehow that didn't work out. So I ended up studying tourism. But I wouldn't really call that studying because at the first semester, I already realized that this is not who I am.
And how did you realize that?
It was really just not me. Going there felt like I was doing it for someone else, and I was doing it for someone else. So it didn't take long for me to say, okay, mom, dad, I tried it, I did it for you guys, but now it's time to be me.
That is really brave, though.
Thank you.
Like I have to think about the contest that you participated in.
Yeah.
That is brave at such a young age. But I also went to law school, university, dropped out, but I found that super scary to do so.
Yeah, well, then you understand.
Yeah.
And to be honest, yeah, I had the photography, but growing up in Croatia, everybody thought that it was just a hobby. What do you have if you don't have school? How are you going to survive in life? Those were all the questions I had and many others had for me.
But it's also like a legitimate question, right? Because it's like a secure path.
Yeah, but it's a programmed question. And I think that with my life, I have proved others wrong and maybe even myself. And with this path that I am on right now, I think that no school or anything like that can, yeah, can make it sure for you to make it. But if you choose yourself, you can be successful in whatever you do if you follow your passion.
So what happened? You went and studied tourism.
That's even funny to hear.
And how did you continue your story? Like,
So I got invited to come to Ireland by an owner of a makeup agency who somehow saw my pictures and fell in love with them. And she decided to fly me over. So we started working together a little bit.
you as a
And
photographer.
as a photographer, yes. And that really gave me a lot of courage that someone believed in me and liked my work and wanted to fly me over from little Croatia. And when I came there, I met a lot of new people. I saw how all this worked and I got really interested and I wanted more. So I came back to Croatia and worked a little bit more there. But sooner or later, I decided that it's time to go. So I already had some connections and friends in fashion. And one friend of mine was modeling in Milan. And she just said, hey, maybe you want to come over. My boyfriend is gone for a couple of days. You can stay with me for, I don't know, 4 days. Just come over and see how it goes. So I decided to do that. I think it was just after the new year, around like 3rd of January. So I picked my stuff, I took my camera, and I went to Milan
So from
thinking,
Ireland, you went to
no, no,
Milano.
no. At the time, I was back in Croatia.
Okay.
So from Croatia, I went to Milan thinking I would just meet some new people, make some nice pictures for the models in agencies. Yeah, and that's what I did. But I didn't stay for 4 days. I stayed first for 2 weeks. And then after staying for 2 weeks in Milan, I realized that I can't really go back to Croatia because now I started discovering more of the new world, and going back to Croatia would just mean going back to restrictions. So from Milan, after 2 weeks, I was also slightly done with the city. So I decided to send out emails and see where they take me. So I sent out emails to Paris, to London, to Berlin, to Barcelona, and I
To
just
people living there.
to the model agencies
Okay.
and see where they needed a photographer. So I just went with it wherever they invited me. So after Milan, I went to Paris, and in the beginning, I really stayed in the cheapest hostels, 10 euros a night. Didn't know anybody. I was 20 years old. It was extremely cold. And me with my luggage for 4 days. So in the end, this little European tour turned into a 2 months trip outside of Croatia,
What
which,
did your parents say?
yeah, I don't know. I don't even
like,
remember,
like, like,
but
were they
they
asking
trusted me.
questions?
They had
Okay.
to trust me. I I guess I taught them to trust me from a very early age, and I'm so incredibly grateful for them for that. So after that trip, my life had been changed forever. And when I landed to Berlin, somehow that was it. Like I felt I met so many new people in such a short time. So I knew that that was the city I was going to move to.
Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm hearing is like you're following your curiosity. You experience this sense of, yeah, feeling like a cage in Croatia. And at the same time, it's also you trusted yourself
Yes.
on a very deep level, but you also operate based on, well, what really seems to motivate you
Yeah.
is whenever people put their trust in you. So whether it's your parents or the lady in Ireland, you know, because you were being invited to Milano, you were being invited to Ireland, but you kind of invited yourself to Paris, right? By sending out
Correct.
the
Yes.
invites.
Yes.
Your story just reminds me so much of the book The Alchemist from Paulo Coelho. That this boy,
That's a great
Santiago,
compliment.
this, you just follow life's signs.
Yes.
But if you would go back to Carlo in Croatia, then what is it that, the Carlo in Croatia, but also the Carlo in college, what is, like, how did you feel? This is not it. The feeling that you had when you arrived to Berlin, this is it. Like, how could you describe to the listener that feeling of full yes, full no, or like somewhat no?
Well, I feel like in Croatia, there was just this big program of expectation from other people, from family, from people on the street. And what I loved in Berlin is that I could be whoever I wanted to be. And I had a fresh start just for myself. I could create anything. I didn't have to explain myself for this or that. I could be anyone, anywhere, wear whatever I wanted to.
You felt like yourself.
I felt like myself. And this feeling then brought me to all these places. And I'm so extremely grateful for that.
So you are right now living in Berlin. And would you call Berlin your home?
Well, tricky question. Yeah. Well, first of all, my home is in here, wherever I am. And my home is this planet. So I realized this last time in Ibiza that I don't want to see myself as a tourist going from place to place, because that way you are just not present where you are. This is my home that I am discovering every single day. This is my home too right now. Well, it is your home, but
It's yours too.
yes. Yeah. So I would say that, but Berlin is one of my bases for sure. I work there at the moment. Well, I play there.
Yeah, I love that. You're not calling it work, you're calling it play.
Yes, it is my play. It's my passion. And I do not ever want to see it as work, because as soon as I do, it stops being my play.
Because how did that transition go from photographer to Khalis, the brand?
Okay. So when I moved to Berlin, I started working full-time as a photographer at the studio. And this was also not for me. It was quantity over quality. And that felt very disappointing for me and for the fire within me.
So then that was like the time that your passion turned into work.
Yes, unfortunately. And have in mind the story I just told you about the European tour. The fire was burning there. The rebellion was raging in me.
Like
In the
excitement.
most loving way.
Like excitement.
Exactly. I was meeting new people, getting exciting new jobs, new shoots. And when I landed in this studio, the fire just diminished. It became smaller. And I unfortunately stopped recognizing myself. So it took me 1.5 years to really decide for myself and say goodbye to the prison and let myself out one more time. So after I did that, I started freelancing and working on my own as a photographer, which was also quite successful. I continued meeting amazing new people, models, working for well-known magazines, basically fulfilling every dream that I had. And then one day, just like this, the dream that I had of becoming the best photographer I could possibly be just disappeared.
How do you mean
And
disappeared?
it didn't disappear, but I felt like my purpose was bigger. It was something bigger to make a positive impact in this world.
So you had this dream from a very young age to become the best photographer in the world?
Yes, I would say that this dream about being a photographer was from finishing my primary school. I remember 7th grade primary school, I started working in Photoshop day and night. And then I got myself my first camera that I'm still using. And then I would just do that. Boom, boom, boom. But of course, now I see that my dream was not only becoming the best photographer I could possibly be, but becoming the best photographer I could possibly be led me somewhere else. And now I am open to not knowing who I want to be because I'm becoming someone new every single day. But who I want to be is someone who is led by emotion, someone who is led by the feeling, by the frequency. And for the fact I know that I want to make this world a better place. That is my goal and my mission.
So you could not match that mission to being a photographer?
Unfortunately not.
So you had this dream, and then when you achieved that certain, let's say, level within the photography business, you realized, is this it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it was not it.
Yeah.
And those people were unfortunately not it.
And how do you look at photography now? Do you still love it?
Of course.
Yeah.
I needed to let go of the feeling I had by the end. What led me take another path, another curve, another turn. And well, now I'm still shooting a lot, but for myself, for my brand.
Yeah. I recognize that in a sense.
Yeah.
Like I've always dreamed of being the best model, like to become a top model. And at a certain point when I was traveling around and doing the modeling, I never reached the top. But when I was doing the photo shoots, at a certain point I realized also that question, like, is this it?
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, like, I still love being in front of the camera. I love it when like pictures are being taken of me. But right now when I do a photo shoot, I do a photo shoot as me, as Annie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I love it again.
Wow.
But the moment that for a while I really stopped modeling,
Mm-hmm.
it was actually really scary. Like it also gave me a sense of relief when I heard you just say that
Yeah.
to quit the full-time photography job to do more like the freelance stuff,
Yeah.
that was like a process of like a year and a half.
Yes.
Because you give up a lot of security, you know,
Yeah.
and income, to be fair.
Yes. Yeah, and the income is the thing that chains you to it. You ask yourself, how am I going to survive after?
Yeah. And that's a legitimate question.
Yes. But choosing yourself will always be the highest option. Trust me. Even if you don't know what or how, the universe will make sure to guide you there.
Yes, and you are saying this, like, this is the reason why I've invited you to the podcast, because
Thank you so much.
you have embodied this, you know, this sense of like trust in life. But this also comes with, again, like daring to jump. Like I
Exactly.
remember our conversation in Ibiza, you being like, Annie, whenever you're scared, you jump. You know, like that's the time to jump when
Yeah.
you're scared.
Well, it's also a metaphor because what triggers the fear in you is for you the sign that something needs to be worked on. And for me, I'm grateful when I feel fear about something.
Can you explain that? What does alchemy mean to you?
You couldn't wait for that
No, I
one.
couldn't wait for that
Yes,
one.
exactly. Well, alchemy for me is transformation. And in the history books, we can read about alchemy as transforming base metals into gold. But I know that this is just a metaphor. Alchemy is a way of living. Alchemy is art. Alchemy is transforming whether it's gold, crystal, or life experience into something of your own. adding your unique stamp to it, adding life to it. So for me, alchemy, I can see that in my work, in my play, every day, because I can have a thought, which then I can, from out of nothing, transform into matter. And then this matter I can transform into something priceless for the people. So for me, getting the feedbacks from my clients, them being so happy and so grateful to wear some of my pieces means the world to me,
Right
really.
now, I'm wearing your piece that I bought from you this summer in Ibiza. It's a smoky quartz, right, with citron.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, so rewind. First time that we met,
Yes.
I have, for a really long time, been interested. I always felt pulled towards crystals. And what I tend to do is once in a while, when I feel like it, I clean them. So I put them under water to just like rinse them off energetically. And I tend to charge them like in the window, like under the full moon. And when we met, I told you about this. And you said, Annie, put them in the sun, you know, like let them soak up the energy of the sun. And I was like, oh, yeah, of course. Like, of course, the sun. And you were there selling your, at the time, I believe it was only necklaces that I saw you with,
Correct.
right? Yeah. And you were on the beach in Ibiza, like talking to the people, chatting to the people. And the story behind the crystals that you're telling, along with, you know, you selling the pieces, make the pieces even more valuable, you know? So right now carrying around, like wearing this crystal, like on my chest, like the smoky quartz, I believe protects you from energy, right? It's like an
Yes.
energy protector.
And grounds you to wherever you are.
Yeah. So knowing that, it's like this, I literally like put on this like energetic shield, you know? And when you can put even more, let's say, value and energy into it by putting it in the sun or like in the window and it's like under the full moon, you know? But I also, you know, this piece is growing in value to me because it's like I'm carrying it around while experiencing life, you know?
Exactly.
Literally like energy goes into it.
Yeah, you know what crystals are,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So crystals are materials, beings, call them whatever you want, able to store and amplify energy. So it's also very important who makes them and who wears them. So it's a synergy of our energies together, and together with crystals, it creates strong energy, which I believe you can feel yourself.
Yeah, you are wearing right now also the rings that you're creating.
Yes.
And I just had the privilege of putting on one of your rings with the emerald. But then when I put it on, I was straight away like, no, this is your ring, man. It's like yours. Like it's your, it carries your,
Oh,
it feels like I often have this though with like wearing jewelry from other people because, you know, like it carries, everything is energy. It carries their energy. But once the piece of jewelry also carries a crystal, it's like that sense is like amplified.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I see jewelry not only as a beautiful adornment to make ourselves prettier. They are that too. But for me, they are transformational tools to amplify our frequency, our energy.
By the way, we have not finished your alchemist journey. We still got stuck on the part of you. Where were we? We were at the point you in Berlin doing freelance photographer.
Yes.
So, okay.
Yes.
Continue.
Let's rewind.
Yeah,
there.
let's rewind there.
So I remember that one day in the studio. It was around 2020. We all know what was going on around that time. And I realized, wow, I can't be here anymore. And have in mind how hard that was for myself to realize. Because
You could not be where anymore.
in the studio around those kind of energies, because at that time I started to already sensing that something is wrong. Like at that time, I was convinced.
This was
And
a process, right? This was like a year.
I always felt that there was something off ever since I was a kid. But at that time, I was now convinced. And
Explain that a bit. Like you just felt different.
I just felt different. Yeah. And I felt like maybe some people thought that I was crazy. And yeah, I needed to take a step back from all of that and ask myself, who am I? And that's not an easy question. What am I gonna do?
I also asked myself that question, and it was also in 2020. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, then you understand. You
Then we
feel
get
it.
back to the beginning of this episode, like someone asking you, can you introduce yourself?
Exactly.
It's a difficult question. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I believe life is about finding out what the answer is, right?
Beautiful. Yes. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
And then some people, when they ask you, but why would you care?
Why would I care?
Like, why would they care about the purpose of life, about the truth? Well, then you're just stuck in your 9 to 5 and you don't care about why you're here.
Which is also fine.
Which is also fine,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
And I have learned that through years to leave people where they are, not to force my truth into their brains or
Because the people, like leaving people where they are, that is also Carlo years prior being in the studio. That is also Annie years prior being in the studio.
yes. Yeah.
And when you were feeling like something's off here, even though that I'm living my dream, I'm being a photographer, I don't want this for myself anymore, then what happened?
Then a couple of months of intense reflection and meditation followed. And
That must have been scary.
no, it was actually beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those months led me to go into Mexico, where I bought my first couple of crystals. And prior to that, I never really even thought about crystals as an adult man. I'll come back to that. Reading all these things on Instagram, charging them in the moon, in the sun, just felt a bit like woo-woo to me. So
I get that a lot.
Of course. Of
Yeah.
course. I mean, look at me. Like if it comes from here.
Yeah.
So I was quite skeptical. But in Mexico, I stumbled upon a store. It looked like a tiny little store from the outside. They were selling some kind of dinosaur fossils, but also stones. So I got curious. I entered there, and it turned out to, like in a cartoon, in a movie, it turned into a huge store with every possible crystal you can imagine. So I bought a few of them as a souvenir, as a gift for a friend. And on my return to Berlin, I saw that friend, and I remembered that I had a gift for her. And that was a very close person to me. So once I grabbed the stones and I gave it to her, in that moment, I truly felt the energy of those crystals through my hand like a battery. And in that moment, I realized, wow, those people were not crazy. So after that, both that friend and I, we started buying different kinds of crystals and experimenting with them, putting them on different parts of our body, amethyst here, quartz there, and just seeing how they work. So at one point, I ended up having a crystal in my hand wherever I would go. If I would watch a movie, crystal was there. If I would go for a walk, crystal was here. So I remember that summer I came to Croatia to visit my family, of course, with my stones. And, that looked a little bit weird from the outside and wasn't really practical carrying them around all the time. So I started thinking to myself, how can I still have them with me, but not in my hands or my pockets or my bag or anything, just around my neck. But anything I could think of, anything that was present on the market, were just these little chips of stones hanging on a thread. Nothing against them though, but not what I wanted. So,
That's what I like to create for myself. Like when I stumbled upon like a great crystal, then I would ask this professional to like make a hole in it, buy a separate necklace, and like that's the way that I would create a necklace for myself. But those are nothing compared to your unique
no, come
pieces.
on. But working with crystals, feeling their energy in a crystal of like 5-6 centimeters, I wanted to have that because I already got used to that size and that power. I wanted to have a really big stone around my neck, and I couldn't really find it anywhere. And meanwhile, that same friend that I gifted the first stones to, she gifted me a little crystal necklace that we bought together at the flea market. And it was a very old necklace on a silk thread, which kept breaking on and on and on. And me thinking that I was not a jewelry designer or I ever would be, I would just patch it up with a little glue in the back and just so I could still wear it.
This was in Croatia.
This was like throughout few weeks,
Okay.
a month and a half or so. I was patching it up. Like it broke, I think, 4 times. And the last time it broke, I was in Croatia. It was the end of summer, I remember. And I was sitting on a boat just like this. And the necklace just fell into my lap.
Yeah, I know this story. This story is crazy.
And then I thought to myself, you know what? Now it's done. Now I've had enough. I'm going to go back to my hometown and I'm going to find a store that has the tools and the material to fix this necklace from the beginning. So I went to my hometown, I found this store, and when I entered, not only did they have the tools to make jewelry, but they also sold crystals. So that was the eureka moment for me because for the months prior to that, I had been asking for an answer, for some guidance to what could it be that I could still be me and creative, but still somehow do some healing work for this planet. Because I truly do believe that we are entering something beautiful and magical. And I would like to do my best part in ushering that future as soon as possible,
While also having fun.
while also having a lot of fun.
But I love the full circle moment because you do find yourself finding your purpose, but you're back in Croatia while doing so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so I bought some tweezers and stuff to repair this necklace, but I also bought some material because my sister's birthday was coming up. So I wanted to see how I would be in creating a whole new piece for my sister's birthday. So I went back home and there were my parents, and I remember my grandparents were visiting. And I was there in the kitchen on the table repairing this necklace and making something new with these beads. And I am 100% sure they were asking themselves, what is this guy doing? Why is a man making jewelry? And after I made my first necklace, I told them, Grandma, Grandpa, parents, remember this day. This is the day that I started my empire.
Goosebumps.
And ever since then, I didn't stop
Making necklaces, making jewelry from crystals.
having fun.
So this sense that you're experiencing right now, this sense of purpose, passion, excitement. If we go back to the younger Carlo that felt something's off. If we go back to him for a sec. If we think about those words, excitement, passion, purpose, those younger Carlo, what was he experiencing at the time?
Well, you're talking to him right now. he is right here, and I'm so proud of him. He knew it all along, really. I knew it. And now living this life, this vision that we had as a kid, it's just so magical, really.
I can see that it's making you emotional.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And I realized that now, last time I was in Ibiza, I truly cried from happiness.
You've been very brave.
You can call it that way. Yeah, I risked it all for myself, and I kept seeing that it always paid off.
Yeah.
And sometimes, quite often, things and people will fall off out of your life, but that's fine. Because life will continue making more space for the new things and new people to come into your life.
But there was fear, right?
We have fear, all of us.
I just want to shine light on also you having those very human fears.
I'm a human just like all of you.
Right now we try to summarize your beautiful story into an episode. But then it gives me a sense of relief when I hear that also, you know, those jumps that you've taken, that it needs time, you know?
It does. And
it needs
faith.
to happen. Yeah, faith, a lot of courage. But it all started off with the feeling, right?
Yes.
It starts off with the feeling that something's off.
Yes.
Then it shifts towards its sense of curiosity, you know, like the seeking of something.
Following.
Yeah.
Surrendering.
Yeah. And also trying.
Yes.
Just giving it a
Action
try.
is very important. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Beautiful. It's such a beautiful story.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And it's still being written.
Yeah. If I ask this, Carlo, because right now, how old are you?
I just turned 29.
So if I ask a 29-year-old Carlo, so you're right now living your purpose and you're experiencing a sense of passion, excitement every day, you really embody that. Then if you're 29 years old and you're traveling, you're creating those beautiful pieces, and then do you have still big dreams?
And then I'm living my dream. I see where it takes me. The only way is up.
Sounds really good. And right now, if you could speak directly to the listener, and maybe someone is listening right now and experiencing contentment and happiness, but it goes a bit like up and down. And sometimes this question arises like, is this it? Maybe that person has never really thought of that question yet. What could you tell them?
Take your time and continue exploring this question that you have. Let it be. Let it be somewhere there. And
because it is a scary question, right?
It is.
Who am I? Am I on the right path? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing?
It is, but don't be scared by the fear. Yeah, it's an oxymoron, but yeah, let that fear.
I don't know what that is. Oxymoron?
It's a paradox, basically. Okay. Don't let the fear scare you.
Mm-hmm.
Let it motivate you. Let it show you what you have to work on, but in your timing.
Yeah,
don't force things.
Yeah, I think like the question, like, is this it? That can be a scary question, right? So like maybe like a middle ground is like exploring it with this sense of curiosity.
Well, I would say that everything is it at that moment.
Yeah.
But is it still who I am right now? Yeah. Have I maybe outgrown it?
Yeah.
That's maybe.
Like that's the thing, like when we were chatting, photography and
Yeah.
modeling, I was so afraid to explore the answer to that question because I had always dreamed as a kid to be this top model,
Yeah.
to be on the catwalk, to be admired. So I, at a certain point, recognized I've never asked myself the question, is this it? Because I was so convinced of it. And I still am, actually, like it is this dream of mine.
Yeah.
But there was like fear attached to exploring the question because that would then mean that my feeling was off, my intuition was off, my dreams were wrong or
Yeah.
like fake or whatever. And it's actually that I find, no, it's just that this Annie here today is still loving the modeling,
Yeah.
but just like with a different charge to it, like I would love to do that, but like being Annie.
In your own way.
Yeah.
Same. I just shot the campaign for Khalis in Ibiza in July, and I loved doing it.
Yeah.
Really, those pictures are one of my favorite pictures ever.
On your
But
own terms.
on my own terms, exactly. So I can still do it. You never stop being something or someone. You just evolve. You just reshape. You learn how to use the same tool in a different way.
Yeah.
So, and I believe that you being a model, me being a photographer, was not a mistake. Without
No.
that, we could not have been where we are now. Because
That's what I felt for a long time, like for the law studies. Like so much, like I would want to say like blood, sweat and tears. That's a bit dramatic, of course. But like I felt the moment that I gave up on that studies, I was like, well, this is a waste. But now looking back, I'm like, it definitely was not a waste. Like no second of it was a waste.
Yes. Yeah. Even my tourism
Yeah.
couple of months
Yeah.
was needed for me to realize, no, I need to choose for myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, we needed all that. And my part in photography also helped me to train my eye to see the beauty, to
Yeah.
become the alchemist, the artist, to see the beauty in everything and everywhere, to turn it into my own.
Yeah.
And
We first need to find out what doesn't work
exactly
in order to find out what works.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, I had hard works. I worked at retail stores and I really disliked it. So I told myself never again. You really need to go through things that you don't like
Yeah.
to know how to appreciate things that you do like. This is also really what I love. I love having to work for it, to really be able to enjoy it fully once it's there.
And what does feeling mean to you in a day-to-day life? Like this super courageous, I want to call you Kalyss, but this Carlo sitting right here, like, do you experience fear? Do you experience, fear?
Now a bit less, for sure. Because as I said to you in Ibiza, if you're afraid, jump. And I meant it as a metaphor because a couple of years ago, I realized that if I'm afraid of something, that I just have to go for it, get out of my comfort zone. And this will bring the success. This will propel me forward. If you're afraid of the mic, get on the stage and sing. Dance, just have fun.
I thought
What's
of you.
the worst thing that can happen?
Like after that you told me that phrase in Ibiza, like I thought of you every morning when I would jump into the ocean. Like I'm a bit afraid like of the water, but then like of the deep sea, like over there where I was, there's like rocks. So the moment that you would jump in, you would be in like the deep sea. And in the morning, the sun was not there yet. So I could not see deep into the water. Like the water was not that clear. So after that, you told me that, like, I thought of you every morning, Annie, when you're scared, jump. Oh. And actually, it feels so good to then jump.
Right?
It feels so good to then jump.
Yeah. And how did you feel after?
Amazing. The part with the jellyfish was a bit... then I was like cursing in my head, Carlo!
Have you still seen some jellyfish after?
No.
Yeah. Well, it's their territory. We have to respect them too.
Yeah.
We're just the visitors.
And also those moments of pain, fear, suffering, they're part of life. you know.
Exactly.
I'm right now, even though I got this beautiful encounter with a jellyfish, I'm glad that I jumped. Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you so much for being here and sharing your beautiful alchemist story. I
Thank you
really
for
hope
having
that we
me.
have inspired the listener. And I cannot wait to keep chatting to you, but we will do that off
Likewise.
camera. Thank you so much.
Such a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, it's so easy to chat to you. Let's connect with ourselves and with each other.